All right, what is up, guys? Welcome back to another GeoGuessr video, and on this video we're going to be explaining our World League results and kind of diving deep into how it went over the past 4 weeks, a little bit of the drama, and looking forward to the round of 16 bracket with the 16 players that did make it through. Spoiler alert, I wasn't one of them, but we will analyze that and kind of talk about the competitors for most of you people that aren't aware of who they are. I'll try to go through each one. I don't know them the best, but I do know a good handful of players that are in the 16 players that did qualify. So we'll be talking about that as well. Hopefully you guys enjoy the video. If you guys have any questions for me, feel free to drop it in the comments down below, and let's hop into it here. All right, so the first thing that we're going to talk about is the qualification race, which was held from April 7th to May 4th. So it ended on Sunday, and this video is coming out on Wednesday, I believe. So yeah, a couple days out from that. The Open Major is going to be held on the 27th to the 29th of June, so quite a ways away. So a lot of time for the players who actually qualified to train a little bit more, patch up some holes in their game, and come back in June with a more well-rounded game, because it is going to be a moving NM, NMPZ kind of a bracket best of 5 situation. So should be fun. There are definitely some players on here that strictly qualified like with one mode or specializing in one or two modes. A lot of these players aren't really a jack of all trades player that you'll see a lot in most of with the World League players. Most of them are quite balanced, especially the top ones like Consis, Blinky, Finbar, Debray for the EMEA. Like, they're all quite well balanced across all 3 modes, and I think they can compete with any player on all 3 modes. Whereas with this Open Major qualifying, you're obviously going to try to play the mode that's best for you, and try to get points off of it that way. So makes a lot of sense that most of these players kind of specialize in 1 or 2 modes, and then they're a bit weaker on other modes as well. But we'll talk about that when we hop into the 16 that qualified. Here are the 16 anyway. Here I am, 21st, just finished outside. So a little bit into depth of why I finished outside. After week 2, I kind of just had a huge downswing in ELO. I went down to like, I want to say like low 1700s at my low point. So it wasn't the greatest performance for me. I was definitely on tilt, and like, I was not playing well. Probably should have taken a break, but it's that mindset is just like, oh, I can keep playing, make it back. But yeah, I was just playing very poorly at that point. But week 1, we kind of made a huge blunder. Essentially, we ended, I think, on week 1, if you watch the episodes, we ended around 20-ish in terms of ELO. And then I made a big jump overnight to like 2081. And I think that's because I got refunded on a bunch of players. So Ren during week 1 got banned for cheating. So obviously he got banned for from the Open Major qualifying race as well. So I played Ren a couple of times during the week, the first week. So I got an ELO refund for that, for reporting him. And then there was a different player called Julia Star, I think, that I played like 2 or 3 times. I think I lost to them all 3 times. And I got an ELO refund for that as well. So that kind of pushed me up about 60 ELO, which was nice. I mean, in the moment, but stupidly, when I was trying to queue 2v2s with Bad at GeoGuessr, I thought I was in the team duels page, and I was in the duels page, and it's just my dementia setting in, like I'm just old. So unfortunately, I dropped about 20 ELO because I didn't get the opportunity to guess game 1. Like the first game that I queued up for, it threw me into a game immediately. I tried to back out immediately. I didn't see that I had actually got into a game. So by the time I reloaded up the game, the player I was playing against already guessed, and I lost a big chunk of health, and I couldn't recover from there. And then stupidly, instead of just taking the ELO loss, oh, it's my fault, or not even guessing, because I could have got that elo refunded if I didn't guess. I queued up for a second game, which I lost as well. So it brought me down into that 3-point range, which I think if I stayed around 2080, we would have had enough points to just sneak in here, or it would have been quite close. And yeah, a bit tough. It would have put me in a better spot for week 2 as well. So you can say it's a bit of a waterfall effect. Like, we would have picked up more points there as well. So, you know, at the end of the day, it happens. It's my fault, and I completely own up to that. And yeah, that's one of the reasons why I didn't get in, guys. So quite unfortunate in that sense. As for my overall thoughts on the Open Major, I actually think the format was, and I know I've expressed this in previous videos, I would say that the format was overall kind of disappointing, because it's similar to the things that we did last year for the Open Major qualifying, and I just didn't really enjoy playing the game. Like, I think when you play video games, you should be enjoying playing, but like in this case, I was consistently stressed throughout 4 weeks. I feel like I had to queue at all times, just to try to make up that elo or try to get into a good position. I wasn't, unfortunately, one of the people that, you know, was up there in terms of ranking, so I had to keep grinding every day, which wasn't fun. It just made GeoGuessr unfun for me, and eventually in that last 2 weeks, I kind of like threw in the towel, because I was like, I can't do this to my mental anymore. Yeah, it was a little tough in that case. I also think that there are some integrity issues with the overall ladder chase. Not to accuse everyone that qualified. There's definitely players that I know are quite reputable on this list, and I would definitely say they're definitely not cheating. They're not receiving external assistance. They're not screen sharing, which, I mean, the allegations are that, you know, people have screen shared, including people that are in the 16. I'm not going to name names specifically, but there's definitely people that there's strong evidence for to be potentially screen sharing. Not going to accuse anyone, of course, but there's definitely a few sus people on the list. But otherwise, I actually think probably the 16 best players that deserve to make it there did make it. So I'm quite happy with this list, aside from a few. But it should be a very interesting 16. Let's just hop into the bracket real quick so we can talk about that. Probably going to be a shorter video here, but the seeding is based on how you finished in the Open Major standings, of course. So Noxy, obviously being first, is going to play against the 16 seed Miko Y. And I think this should be a good game. So Noxy is primarily a no move player. So the general GeoGuessr stereotype is that all let me move my camera actually real quick. Let's move it over here. The general stereotype is that most French players just only know how to play moving, and that's just not the case. I think there is 3 French players, especially in this bracket, that kind of broke that stereotype. Noxy is probably one of the stronger no move players in this bracket. And let me zoom in a little bit actually, so you guys can see the bracket. It might be a little bit small on your screen, but there we go. Yeah, he's one of the stronger no move players. I think that's pretty much his specialty. I'm not sure how he fares on NMPZ or in moving. I don't think I've ever seen him play either, but his no move game is definitely very strong, and I would consider him to be a top contender in no move especially. And the fact that, you know, a lot of these players that are on the list aren't going to be very good at moving definitely puts his no move specialty in a good spot to go deep into the tournament. Miko Y, very good player on no move, and I want to say his NMPZ is okay. I don't really have too much experience playing with Miko Y either, but I don't think he's necessarily known as a moving player either. So it should be a good matchup to see who can adapt better and improve their moving game over the next month and a half or so, between Noxy and Miko Y. All right, so next, Gymtimidator and Luminous Kiwi. Jim Timidator, he used to stream on Twitch. Pretty much was a prominent NMPZ player when he was streaming, but I think he's kind of transitioned into playing both NMPZ and no move. He's quite good at both. And he's been silently grinding now that he doesn't stream on Twitch and stuff like that. So it should be quite interesting to see him play, like, I guess, on a broadcasted stream for the first time. Also, the same with Luminous Kiwi. I don't think too many players know about Luminous Kiwi because they're not as active in the community. They don't stream on Twitch. They have a ton of Plonket rounds, though. I will say that. So they've definitely grinded a ton on Plonket, and I think you can see that reflected in their skill level, and I think they definitely deserve to be here. And I'm not quite sure what mode they play, but I would assume probably a no-move player here. So this should be a good matchup as well, and definitely a matchup to look out for. All right, Pav and Salix. So Pav is like generally a moving player, if I'm not mistaken. He does queue for no-move occasionally, but I would say probably his strongest mode is moving, whereas Salix is probably a better no-move player than Pav. And I think it's really going to come down to who can adapt better to the other player's best mode. Whether Pav can adapt to playing no move better than Salix, or Salix can adapt to playing moving a bit higher and raising his level. I think whoever takes that is going to be the victor in that case. Cooley versus Alpha here could be interesting. I only played against Cooley a handful of times. I don't know. But Alpha, also a no move player as well. So these are the three French players that I kind of highlighted, like Noxy, Salix, and Alpha. They're all quite good no-move players, although the French are typically known for being moving players. I think Blinky has broken that stereotype, and a lot of the French players have followed along with that. But yeah, should be a good matchup here. I don't have too much info on either of the two players, so I think I'm gonna I'm gonna refrain from saying stuff that, you know, is just gonna sound stupid when they don't play how I expect them to play. All right, Manuelson versus T. Henderson. So Manuelson has been grinding a lot. He recently came back to GeoGuessr, like, I want to say late last year, maybe like middle of last year during World Cup, around that time. So Manuelson, I would say he was more of an NMPZ player back in the day, but I think he's improved to play both NMPZ and no move. I mean, he's not a moving player either. None of the players that I've gone through so far, besides Pav, I feel like is like a specific moving player. And then Thunderson, typically a no-move player as well. I think I've played, I don't know, like, I call him Thunderson, but it's probably T. Henderson anyway. Yeah, he's played a lot of no-move as well. So I think this could be a potentially good matchup as well. I know Manuelson's been grinding, so would not surprise me if Manuelson just absolutely just makes a huge run in this tournament. All right, Lemon versus Gorka is also quite an interesting matchup. I can't say I've played against Lemon too much, but I have seen Gorka play both no move and NMBZ. Both of these players, if I recall correctly, do not really play moving that much either. So once again, it's going to come down to who can practice moving the most in most of these games. The only real moving player left here is Bastel, who's playing against Jewel in this second to last penultimate round of 16 game. And yeah, I think Bastel definitely holds the edge on Jewel in moving. I don't think I've ever really seen Jewel play moving aside from the qualifying tournament last year, if I'm not mistaken. But I think Bastel's probably the best moving player in the round of 16. I don't really think that's too much of a surprise, not too much of a question there. And it wouldn't surprise me, because there's such a heavy emphasis on moving in terms of the format, that Bastel does manage to just make a deep run as well with his moving prowess. And then Rallius versus Jamabi. It's sad to me that I have to see them play against each other in the round of 16, because these are two players that I'm rooting for. But we will see. Jamabi is, I probably know Jamabi the best out of all of these players, and he's mostly an NMBZ player, but he is quite good at no move as well. He dabbles in some moving, but his internet connection is unfortunately really bad. So his moving is really slow. So it's just going to come down to if he can find the info and his computer doesn't lag and the rounds load for him, etc., etc. And Rallius, very good at a lot of big countries. He's a India specialist, Peru specialist, just an overall very solid player. But I think he just absolutely dominates on India rounds, especially when a lot of people have no idea where they're clicking. I mean, that's me most of the time on India. But Rally is a very, very solid player, especially, and having India in your back pocket is such a big advantage, I think, because there's not really a lot of players that are very good at India, and Rallius is one of them. So this should be a very interesting matchup, I would say, and we'll see who actually comes out on moving. I don't really have a good prediction for that. I would say, like, they're both quite good at moving. Like, they're both pretty competent at moving. They're definitely better than a lot of the players that are also in the round of 16, but it's quite unfortunate that they're playing against each other. So a little tough, but we'll see. I think my prediction to win the entire tournament, a little bit of personal bias here, but I think Rallius or Jamabi could make a deep run. But I also think Manuelson, someone to look out for. Jim Timmy, Luminous Kiwi, you could also look out for here. Don't sleep on Noxy, Lemon as well. I think those are probably my favorites. Lemon, Manuelson, Rallius, Jamabi, Jim Timinator, Luminous Kiwi, and probably Bastel, just strictly based off his moving prowess. So yeah, I named about half the field there, but you know, it's a prediction video. What do you want me to do there? Okay, well, that's going to be my prediction. I really would dive deeper into the matchups, but I feel like I don't really know the players as well. I think if there's anything to take away from this analysis, it's that Bastel is the best moving player there. I would say Pav's probably the second best moving player there. And then the rest of the players are a big smattering of both NM and NMPZ players, so we can see who adapts best to playing moving, because I think that's going to be a very important piece of who makes it deep in this tournament, who can adapt to playing better on moving, because a lot of these players just don't play moving. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, that's going to be the analysis, and let's take you to the outro now. All right, a little bit of a shorter video today, but hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you guys have any questions about any of the competitors or anything about the Open Major, feel free to drop it down in the comments below. Would be happy to answer them for you. And I will see you guys tomorrow for another GeoGuessr video. Peace.